BB, and we've had a few requests of people asking about the difference between a spool valve versus a poppet valve gun. How do they work? What are the differences? Do one have an advantage over the other? I'm going to tell you right off the bat that the difference between the two guns is very marginal. Okay, if you suck with with a Ego, which is a poppet valve gun, you're going to suck with a DM. Okay, if you're a god with an Intimidator, you're going to be a god with a DM8. Okay, if the marker operation does very little to improve your gameplay. So I got to put that out there right off the bat with the differences between the two. Keep in mind, like what we talked about before, equipment is only 20%. Your mental state and your physical ability is the other 80%. So switching from a poppet to a spool valve gun or back to the other, they really have almost no advantage over the other. Now, on all the industry reps, you're going to go freaking crazy. Jack Wood's going to send me an email, and the guys from Dye are going to send me an email. But let's look at the Naughty Dogs, for instance. Okay, how many guns have the Naughty Dogs had over the past 5 or 6 years? I can't even name them all. There was the Autococker, there was the FS8, which was a spool valve gun, then they had the Shocker, then they had the Naughty Dogs Intimidator, or maybe it was the other way around, and now they're still the Smart Parts. I mean, and they're a freaking amazing team. So think about it that way, okay? They switch from spool valve to poppet almost every single year, and they're still rolling bitches. So it makes no difference what you personally use, okay? If you suck with a spool, you're going to suck with a poppet. If you suck with a poppet, you're going to suck with a spool. What is in your personal hands almost makes no difference. But let's go forward with that. Let's talk about a couple different spool valve guns, okay? Let's talk about, this is a Shocker, NXT Shocker. This is a spool valve gun. The MacDev, the Droid, that's a spool valve gun. And coincidentally, the Cyborg is a poppet gun. So that company actually makes both. The Protos, like the PM8, PM5, PM6, PM7, all those are all spool valve guns. All the Dye series guns, going back to the Matrix, which was made many years ago, that's a spool valve gun. The FPP Quest is also a spool valve gun. And let's talk about what are some of the poppet guns. Here's an Ego. Okay, this is a poppet style gun. Spider, Intimidator. The Mark is also a poppet gun. The Nerve, the Mini, the E-Tech, the Egos, the Angels. So those are all poppet style guns. And I got to tell you that one of the best resources there are on the internet are what they call marker animations, okay, or paintball gun animations. There are artists in paintball that will take a look at a gun and actually draw a diagram showing you how the air flows through the gun. It's an awesome resource. One of the best libraries I've ever seen for marker animations is on zdspaintball.com. Okay, what it is zdspb.com/tech/misc/animations.html. Let's go ahead and put that link up for you guys to look at it. Okay, so that's the website, zdsppaintball.com. He has one of the best libraries of marker animations I've seen on the internet right now. It's a great resource. Talks about balanced and unbalanced poppets and all sorts of, going back to the Nelson hammers, and he's got it all. So check out zdspb.com and look at his marker animations and study those. That's going to be your best source of information. So what are some of the pros and cons of the different guns? They each have their pros and cons of using them. Let's talk about a spool valve, okay, like a Lux. Generally, spool valve guns are going to be quieter, okay, but also they're going to use more air. Something else too, a lot of people claim that the spool valve guns, because they use more air, also have a softer shot. So one of the claims is that the spool valve guns are a little more gentle on paint. Also, they have less kick and vibration, and I'll explain to you why they have less kick and vibration when we talk about the poppet guns. But some of the drawbacks is that spool valve guns have more O-rings. There's a lot more O-rings. There's a lot more O-ring surface area. Typically, spool valve guns have more O-rings in them, and there's also more metal touching the O-rings, which also makes them very lubricant specific. They're very picky about lube. They're very picky about their dwell settings. Typically, most spool valve guns have horrible first shot drop off. Now, most of the manufacturers, with the exception of Smart Parts, yet again, have great anti-bolt stick. So what they do is they know their guns are going to have bolt stick, So what they do is they up the dwell for the first shot to overcome that. Dye does a great job. The Pro does a great job. The Mac does a great job. The only company in the industry right now that does not have any first shot drop off or anti-bolt stick is Smart Parts. I mean, if you took the shocker out of the spool valve mix, and took this out of the pot, I mean, the scale would be really even. But since this is one of the most sold spool valve guns that are out there, and it's also probably one of the most ill-equipped out of the box, I mean, it really tips the scales in terms of the Poppet if you wanted to weigh everything out. But something else too with spool valves that not a lot of people talk about is because there's so many O-rings that are inside there. A lot of people have a tendency to over lubricate their spool valve, and what happens is as they're shooting it, they take it out and they're like, wow, look at that, my bolt is dry again. Well, where do you think all that lubricant goes? It spackles to the back of the paintballs and sticks to the inside of the barrel, making the gun shoot horrible. So it is very easy to over lubricate a spool valve gun and coat the inside of your gun with all that lubricant inside the barrel, which isn't going to help your accuracy at all. Okay, now let's talk about Poppet guns. Poppet guns typically are louder than spool valve guns. So if you're looking for a quiet gun, especially like for woods or something like that, Poppet guns are generally a little bit louder than the spool valve guns. Generally, Poppet guns are more efficient. So you will get, almost across the board, you will get more shots with a Poppet valve gun than you will with a spool valve gun. Usually Poppet guns are lighter just because you don't have to have that huge spool valve. Generally Poppet guns are a little bit lighter. There's also a little bit more vibration and kick, and we'll talk about why Poppet guns have a little bit more vibration and kick here in a second. Poppet guns also have less O-rings, and also there's less surface area. The O-rings inside of a Poppet gun are generally like the size of a pencil eraser. They're tiny, as opposed to a spool valve, they're like the size of a quarter. Almost little to no first shot drop off when it comes to Poppet valve guns, and that has to be attributed to the fact that there's less O-rings and less O-ring surface area touching the metal. There's also less maintenance in Poppet guns, and it's also less likely to over lube. Now, how can you tell the difference between a spool valve and a Poppet valve? Typically a spool valve is what it is the bolt just slides forward and shoots and then comes back. Now I'm oversimplifying this because there's all sorts of dump valves and chambers and it goes crazy, okay, and the balance and that. Spool valve guns typically it's all self-contained, and as the bolt slides forward, the air dumps through it, okay? It doesn't hit anything else. It's not a ram hitting a Poppet. Typically a telltale sign of a spool valve gun is that the bolt slides forward from the back of the breech to the front of the breech without anything touching anything else or hitting anything else to open up an air valve. It just slides forward, and the O-rings slide over another O-ring, and then the air dumps out of the gun. Poppet valves, typically what it does is, if you can imagine a golf tee, okay? Imagine inside here, there's a golf tee, and you have a ram that slides forward and collides with the golf tee. That's pretty much what Poppet valve guns do. Poppet, basically, the easiest way to think of it is pop it open, okay? So what it is you've got a valve, you've got a ram or a hammer or whatever you want to call it, and it slides forward, hits it, opens up the valve, and then closes it. So it hits it, opens up the valve, and then closes it. So you've got two pieces of metal colliding with each other in order to open that valve up. So that's why in many cases Poppet valve guns will have a little bit more kick, a little bit more vibration, because through your handle you're going to feel that collision of metal, and the vibration is going to be sent through the gun and into the palm of your hand. What I definitely recommend, I'm going to put up some animations here from ZDS Paintball, ZDSPB.com, but hopefully that kind of overcomes or talks a little bit about the difference. Most of the time, Poppet valve guns, you've got a bolt on top, a rammer or a hammer at the bottom, or a ram or whatever you want to call it, slides forward and collides with the Poppet valve. And with the spool valves, generally it's just the bolt sliding forward, and what happens is there's an O-ring. The O-ring goes in there, and once the O-ring breaks away from a certain spot, the air dumps through it, and then when it slides back, it closes it off. So that's the difference. It's really personal preference. Some people love spool valve guns. Some people love Poppet guns. Typically, I generally lean more towards the Poppet guns. I kind of like the Mark because it's kind of a mix between the two. I've also been digging the Lux. The Lux has been a great upgrade. for the spool valve gun. So it really comes down to personal preference. Are you looking for quiet, but are willing to sacrifice a little more air consumption? Or if you're one of these efficiency fanatics that needs as much efficiency as possible, most of the time if you're an efficiency fanatic, you need to go with a Poppet based gun. So I'm going to put up some animations really quick. Hopefully this helps answer some of the questions. I mean, which is better? Honestly, it really makes almost no difference whatsoever when you're out there on the playing field which gun you're using. If you suck with a shocker, you're going to suck with an ego. If you're a god with a DM8, you're going to be a god with a mark or an alias or a protege or vice or something like that. So really in the hands of the player, it makes very, very, very little difference. So let's put up some animations, and if you guys have any questions, shoot me over an email. But go check out zdspb.com. Probably one of the best resources of information in terms of looking at animations of what's the difference between a spool valve and a poppet valve gun. Thanks for tuning in.